Dear students, welcome to video lecture of third semester BSc English, Bangalore North University. I am Shankar Reddy, Assistant Professor of English, Government Federal College, KGF. In this session, we are going to learn the poem The Escape. This is the fourth session on the poem. Let us continue now. The main contents of the session: a recap of the previous session, critical appreciation of the poem, multiple choice questions on the session, and session summary. This is the overview of the poem or objective of learning the poem. A recap. In the previous session, we have learned the meanings of the difficult words and explaining the contextual meaning of the words. Appreciation of the poem. I hope the students have read the poem and understood the meanings of difficult words. If you have understood the meanings of difficult words, so this is how we can understand the poem critically. Students, concentrate on the meanings of different words that we have understood and how their meaning is interpreted in the poem. In the poem, the poet addresses his enemy. So we see the poet is the speaker in the poem. The poet is the speaker in the poem. He addresses his foe or his enemy. Seeing his enemy standing beside the poet, poet sees that his enemy is standing beside him and then he becomes surprised. So he's so angry. So he shows his anger by grinding his teeth. By grinding. So by gnawing we have seen the word gnaw. By that is the word that we have understood. Gnaw. Gnaw means grinding. So by grinding his teeth and by biting his lips and with a penetrating look into his enemy's eye, his enemy's face. So the speaker stares at his enemy and with that angry look he expresses his dislikeness towards his enemy or his foe. Even after speaker shows his anger, the enemy did not turn away but stood his ground. But the surprise is the enemy in no way shows his attitude or his so to say dislikeness towards the speaker, but he just stands there and just listens whatever the speaker was saying. Whatever the speaker was expressing through his face or through his body, showing his angry. And he said to the speaker, who said to the speaker? The enemy said to the speaker that if they hate each other, and continue like this, they will fade away in the course of time. He says they will fade away, they will destroy in the course of time. They'll have no meaning of living in their life. He added that they will not continue their revenge till the last bullet is shot. And the enemy tells the speaker that they should not continue their revenge till the last bullet is shot. He means to say that let us not fight each other and then shoot each other and die. This is what the enemy tells to the speaker. And if at all we take revenge till the last bullet is shot, So we will, he tells that it is the destruction of, each other, and it is the destruction of very existence of their life, and they become weak and desolate. So if they fight like that, they become weak and they become desolate. They'll have nothing in their life. Everything will be meaningless. Their story will lapse in history. So if they fight like this now, and their story will just lapse, will have no count in the history. Their story will have no count or no meaning in the history. It is a futile thing to fight. It is a useless thing to fight. The speaker remains silent, but his enemy expects the reply. When the enemy was telling all this, the speaker remained silent. He did not even utter a word. He keeps quiet, but the enemy expects the reply. The speaker escapes the scene without saying a word, which suggests his willingness to concede and to end his enmity. So we see speaker without saying a word just escapes from the situation. It meant that he is willing to come to terms with his enemy and start the relationship. So we see that speaker is positive in his approach, that if he had been there, the speaker is positive in his approach, and if at all he had been there, uh, he would have embraced his enemy. So this is how the speaker uh, come, comes terms with his uh, with his friend and the relationship, and he wants to end the enmity with his enemy. Let us discuss multiple choice questions. Whom does the speaker address in the poem? We have four options given: the reader, a friend, his enemy, the public. So the speaker in the poem addresses his enemy. Second question: how does the speaker show his dislike towards enemy? Now, four options are there: by grinding his teeth, by biting his lips, with a penetrating look into his enemy's face, all of the above. The answer is D, all of the above. So the speaker shows his dislike towards his enemy by grinding his teeth, by biting his lips, and staring or with a penetrating look into his enemy's face. Why does the enemy did not turn away though speaker was angry? He hated the speaker, he did not want to speak. The enemy was coming to terms with speaker, none of the above. The answer is option C. The enemy was coming to terms with speaker. So why does the enemy did not turn away? The speaker was angry. The enemy was gentle. He was mild and gentle, and then he just don't want to react. So he was coming terms with speaker, and he wants to end the enmity. Question number 4. What did the four tell the speaker about their enmity? Four options are given. They will fade away if they continue with their hatred. Their story will be lapsed in history if at all they fight. It is futile thing to fight, all of the above. The answer is all of the above. The enemy tells the speaker that they should not fight. If at all they fight, they will fade away and their story will remain nothing in history or will mean nothing in the history, and it is useless to fight. Number 4. Why did not the speaker reply to his foe? four options we have. He hated the foe. He did not want to speak. The speaker wanted to end his differences with his foe. None of the above. The answer is option C. The speaker wanted to end his differences with his foe. So it's because of that the speaker did not even utter a word and positively escapes from the situation, and his intention is to restore the relationship that had been spoiled before and wanted to end their enmity. Question number 6. The foe is meek and timid. True or false? The foe is meek and timid. This is true. So he is timid. He is not arrogant. He is not violent. He is not aggressive. The foe is not aggressive. Question number 7. The speaker is afraid to face his enemy. True or false? The speaker is afraid. Yes, it is true. The speaker is afraid to face his enemy, so he escapes from the situation. Question number 8. The biggest enemies of the man are his mind, his perceptions about people around him, both A and B, none of the above. The answer is option C, both A and B. The biggest enemies of the man are his mind, his perceptions about people around him. So the biggest enemy of ourselves is our mind and the perception that we cultivate about the people around us. So we should be careful with our mind and then our perceptions, our understanding about the people around us. We should not judge the people just like that. If at all we judge the people just like that without reasoning, then uh, mm, we will, would say, spoil our relationship. So those perceptions and our mind will become the enemies of us. Question number 9. According to 4, what will lapse into history? The hatred between people, the pride and arrogance, the fight, all of the above. So what will lapse into history is that the hatred between people will lapse into history, and then pride and arrogance, the fight. All these will lapse, will just mean nothing. They just go by without account or without anybody's notice. So in that way they are lapse into history. The answer is all of the above. Why does the speaker escape from the scene in the escape? There are four options. Speaker disliked his foe. Speaker wants to be positive and to avoid further argument because his unwillingness to end animosity. Speaker wants to be neutral. The answer is speaker wants to be positive and avoid further argument. So it's because speaker wants to be positive and avoid further argument, he escapes from the scene or he escapes in the scene. Let us recall whatever we have discussed in this session on critically understanding the poem. The poet, seeing his enemy standing beside him, becomes surprised. He shows his hatred by grinding his teeth, by biting his lips, and with a penetrating look into his enemy's face. The speaker shows his anger. The enemy did not turn away but stood to his ground stubbornly and said to the speaker that if they hate each other, they will fade away in the course of time. It is a futile thing to fight, and their story will be a lapse in history, if at all they fight. Remaining silent, the speaker escapes the scene, though the speaker expects the reply. Speaker's silence may suggest his unwillingness to concede and to end his enmity. The speaker is positive in his approach that if he had been there for more time, he would have embraced his enemy. Source and references. These are the source and references used for the session. Thank you.